All right, Dana, we're good.
All right, good morning. This is the November 10th Transit Technical Advisory Committee. And let's go ahead and get started with introductions. We do have someone new here. Maria's here with Sonoma County Transit. So Maria, do you want to go ahead and start off and then we'll introduce others from Sonoma County Transit?
Sure, thank you so much. Definitely recognize some names from my previous work with Tri-Delta Transit as Chief Communications Officer. My role here with Sonoma County Transit will be different. More on the reporting side, so we're still figuring that all out, but Brian and Stephen are teaching me the ways of Sonoma County, and I'm really excited to be part of the team. So thank you for the warm welcome.
Maria, how do you say your last name?
Sure, it's like RC Cola, RC.
Perfect, thanks.
Great. Good morning, Brian Albee, Sonoma County Transit, and we're very pleased to have Maria here. And so I think this is the first Transit Tech meeting, so welcome.
It's Stephen Schmitz with Sonoma County Transit. Good morning.
Thanks. And then how about introductions from SMART next?
Hi, good morning. Chris Bearden. I'm the planner with SMART.
And how about City Bus next?
Hi, Rachel Eid with City Bus, and I just want to say I know Maria from her past role, and Brian, awesome job getting Maria to Sonoma County. Lucky us. So that's fantastic.
Yuri Kozlin, transit planner, City Bus. Welcome, Maria. Look forward to working with you.
Sean has to hold on a moment. Okay.
My computer locks me out for 15 seconds, so I don't save my eyes, but it always happens at the wrong time. So Sean Sosa with City Bus. Welcome, Maria. I remember RC Cola, so that's an easy way to remember your name. Thanks. Welcome.
And Petaluma Transit.
Jared Hall, Petaluma Transit, Transit Manager. Nice to meet you, Maria.
And Golden Gate Transit.
Good morning, David Davenport, Senior Planner with the Golden Gate Bridge District. And sorry I missed the very beginning, but it sounds like we have a new member of Sonoma County Transit, so welcome.
Great, and I see Jacob just joined. Jacob, do you want to introduce yourself? All right, I think that's Jacob Brown from Golden Gate Transit. All right, Sonoma County Transportation Land Use Coalition.
Good morning, Steve Bertelbaugh. Maria, I didn't hear you be introduced. I'm sorry I was late, but I look forward to getting to know you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
And then Sonoma County Transportation Authority. I'm Dana Teray.
I'm Suzanne Smith, Executive Director.
And Drew Nichols.
All right, I think that's everyone. Let's move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment on items that are not on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Let's move on to item number 3, which is approval of the meeting notes from the October 13th meeting. Do we have any comments or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the FTA section 5310 2022 call for projects. And there's an attachment with some information and links on that in your agenda packet. MTC will be holding a working group meeting on this call for projects on December 9th. If you didn't get that invitation from Dren and Shelton at MTC, let me know and I could forward on to you, but I think that I saw most folks were on there. Caltrans has also asked that interested applicants complete a short survey And today's the last day for participation in that survey. So if you haven't done that and you plan on applying, please go ahead and fill that out. Do we have any comments or discussion on this call for projects?
Dana, can you remind me how often they do the call for projects with 5310?
That's a good question. Does anybody else remember? I think it's every 2 or 3 years. I could look it up, but I don't have it off the top of my mind.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think the Petaluma and the city of Santa Rosa are the only two parties that apply.
Okay.
We applied through 5311.
I think that's right. Every 2 to 3 years. It's typically whenever there's enough money there. I think some years there's not. It kind of builds.
Okay. Great. So not really related, but maybe somewhat, we wanted to bring up PEPRA and the U.S. Department of Labor issue. And Suzanne wanted to be here for that discussion before she jumps onto another meeting. So I'll just open that up.
Yeah, I just was curious how you guys are. I listened in on the small operator meeting yesterday. What I wasn't clear on was a sense of timing and like how lengthy this could all be, or is there some, quicker fix, so to speak?
I think as Michael kind of indicated on that call yesterday, maybe in the short term, we might get a little bit more sense of the time frame for resolution, but I think it totally depends on whether it's a litigation path or some other approach, as we heard. In terms of our timing, we'll definitely be affected. I mean, we're PEPRA implemented and we're directly operated, as you know, so we're right in there. I think there was some question yesterday about how contracted agencies are affected, but we're definitely affected. And so for us, it'll mean our federal fiscal year 2022 grants we won't be able to get, both for operating and capital. It means we can't get our ARPA funds. It will mean we can't get our quick strike funds awarded until this is resolved, most likely, unless somehow something slips through, but that seems highly unlikely. So, we can get by for a little bit. Our CARES and CRISA funds, are already in grants and mostly spent, but we can get by. But as we start to get into the spring, there are considerable issues for us in terms of our operating revenues as well as project delivery. So we're just trying to provide CTA with any information we can. And we did, when PEPRA was implemented at City of Santa Rosa, we did go to the bargaining table and we actually made concessions, to incorporate PEPRA into the city. And so there was actually a pay increase that was given as sort of an offset. So, I'm hoping that will help make the case that collective bargaining rights weren't necessarily infringed upon by PEPRA implementation, since we did go to the bargaining table and negotiate it. So, for what it's worth. So that's kind of our report from Santa Rosa.
And is there one-off opportunities with Department of Labor to?
I'm not seeing that right now,
Yeah,
but I honestly
okay.
just don't know. I mean, I think we have something we can point to, but
Right.
I don't see that there's like a path right now to make an argument on a one-off basis, but we'll certainly try if we start getting grants blocked.
Yeah, we should talk about quick strike, whether that could go through Public Works instead of transit.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not going to like that, but anyway, we should talk about that for sure.
Okay.
We're continuing to move it through just to see how far we can get it before it hits a wall, but we anticipate that one will get held up, especially since it's a capital grant. So, Sean, did you want to say anything else from Santa Rosa? No, okay, that's us.
For Petaluma, we're of course contracted both modes. With us, the biggest issue is going to be the hang up with the grant funds and the enterprise funds. I think we'll be fine for the immediate term, but I too am curious how long this potentially takes to get resolved and how long it could drag on for.
Right, and for the county, as you know, we're privatized as well, so we didn't think that this applies to us. And so yesterday really was the first inkling we got that it may apply to us, which I'm not sure how it does. And I'm not sure really what the resolution is. And I'm curious also on the timeline. So there's more questions today than there was yesterday. But the county, it's not didn't implement PURPA, and we're a privatized system. So I think that we're okay. We're going to submit our ARP program or our ARP application through FTA in about a month. And so we'll see what happens to that. If FTA is not taking any applications because of this issue, regardless of what your system is, I mean, that sounded kind of like that was the issue yesterday. Everything just came to a standstill. So I guess we'll find out when we submit our application, but we don't really think it applies to our case.
So just as a side issue, definitely not as important as getting the bulk of your funding that you get through the federal programs, is the grant from MTC to do the the integration, phase 2 work.
Right.
This might affect what our options are in terms of getting those funds. We may end up just having to do STP and have it come through us if ARP money can't go through the county.
So I just want to mention, we had already, I think 2 weeks ago, put our ARPA grant in, and it's been assigned an FAN number from FTA. I don't know how much further it's going to go, but from what I got at the finance working group last week or the week prior, was that they were saying, still submit. I get the feeling that FTA is kind of like, if you're going to submit through FTA into trams, do it as soon as possible, so that it becomes kind of like a running list of like what's DOL holding up. And then that way they have something to talk about, versus if nobody does, then DOL is like, well, if you got nothing on the table, what does it matter? So just a thought.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So did your application get kicked out, Sean, or does it just look like it's being approved?
Well, we got the FA.
Or being processed?
Rachel got it's resubmitted. It got assigned an FAIN. I just checked today. It's just sitting there. It doesn't say pending DOL certification, but it doesn't say anything else. It's just kind of in that not for final concurrence. It's the step before. So I'm just checking every day to see if it changes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just out of curiosity, what are we talking about? I'm not sure which agenda item we're on.
We're technically still under agenda item 4, but brought up the PEPRA issue. Yeah, not directly item 4, but
I guess I'll defer to Jacob on if this is something that we need to worry about.
Yeah, for Golden Gate, we don't believe that we are actually affected, but our grants are held up anyway. We've presented arguments and have been rejected. So the idea of having a one-off exception, we've tried and failed at that in the past. Right now, there is a motion to stay that would possibly allow grants to go through pending, further whatever, I don't know all the legal speak, but pending the rest of the trial. Yesterday our general manager filed a declaration in support of the motion to stay, really building a case that the district will be heavily impacted if we are unable to receive any more operating support, and that layoffs would be very likely in the next year. So I think we have a lot of strong arguments to say that. So hopefully other agencies are saying the same, and we can have success with the motion to stay, and then some of these funds can actually go through. But yeah, that's a short-term solution.
Is Golden Gate not a PERS organization?
I'm actually the wrong person to ask. I don't know too much about the specific structure of our pensions and the way that the decisions were made. It didn't, something about the way the possible violation of PEPRA didn't apply to us. I forget all the details right now, honestly, but
Okay.
but it's a subtlety that is vague enough that, you know, we've been rejected when trying to get our grants through based on it. So
Something I heard in finance working group too was that, you know, regarding the kind of one-off request, was that was not something that FTA or DO, I can't remember who it was that was like saying no, but basically they were saying no on the essentially the one-off request, whether it be for any reason. And I remember Joanne brought up the fact that, you know, SMART became an agency after the whole thing even started. So, you know, would she even have a claim to be a one-off? And I think they kind of decided it was like a side discussion, but yeah, it just kind of seems like DOL doesn't care.
Thanks. It's crazy.
Well, I keep checking in on this as things move forward. All right, let's move on to item number 5 is a regular discussion on MTC's public transit transformation action plan, including the network management project and other related topics. Does anybody have any specific topics they would like to bring up under this item? All right. I also saw that the draft report for the fare integration and coordination study came out, which has an interesting connection with the work we're doing on transit integration. And I think that one of the recommendations is already being done in this county on kind of the reciprocal fare transfer credits. So that's something we could check off if that starts to move forward. All right, if there's nothing else, let's move on to item number 6 is the future of transit ad hoc update. And we have not had a meeting since our last transit TAC meeting, but we do have one scheduled on November 25th, I believe. 29th. Thank you so much. And we are kind of still honing in on options for getting the MTC grant funding through to implement the phase 2 work and sorting that out. So I'm sure that'll be a topic of discussion there. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add or questions? All right. Then the next item is transit operator updates. Let's have Sonoma County Transit start.
We don't have a long list, but we have 2 new paratransit vans that will be released to service next week. Our December 12th schedule changes are in printing. We should have them here by Thanksgiving. You met Maria. She's our new addition to our staff. Happy to have her. I think that's about it. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Brad. And Petaluma Transit.
Good morning, everyone. So doing a decent amount of work on SCTA call for project stuff. Got that resubmitted for the comments that Shauna had for us. Hopefully that all looks good. Doing some bus stop shelter additions at some of our schools, most notably Casa Grande High School and Kenilworth Junior High, kind of a partnership we do with them to improve stops at some school locations. We've started our next round of electric fixed route bus procurements, 4 diesel buses going out, 4 electric buses coming in. So still working through that. We're not sure at this point what manufacturer we're getting, but hopefully I'll know that by the next time we talk. Bike share, from our standpoint, we've signed the agreements, as I know all parties have, I believe, by this point. And we've met both with the vendor and then internally with the city. We have a bike share subcommittee and then other kind of citywide review staff that reviews general permitting type items. And so that was based on the first list of hub locations that Bolt provided to us. We're expecting a revised list relatively soon. I don't know if they gave a timeline on that, Dana. Maybe we can cover that with a later item. But whenever we have that, we'll take a look through it and kind of discuss a second time. Hopefully those all are ready to go at that point. And then spend a good amount of time on staffing and hiring, in various positions. On the contractor side, it's difficult getting operators right now, as I'm sure it is for most of you. And then just kind of trying to come up with new ideas, new approaches to see how we can get people in the door, or more proactively go to them with different agencies to say, hey, we're hiring, rather than just waiting for them to knock on our door, doing a lot of those type of items. And that's about it.
Thank you, Jaron. And Golden Gate Transit.
Morning. Not too much to report on our end in terms of operations updates. Just a couple things. One, for our service change next month, starting December 12th, we are implementing our route renumbering scheme. Route 101 stays the same. Everything else is moved into a 3-digit number so that we don't have overlap with other systems anymore. So for the other Sonoma County route that we operate, Route 72, that will become Route 172. And we'll have a minor schedule change in the morning related to the December 12th schedule as well. Like other operators, it's been difficult to recruit and retain drivers. So we weren't able to expand service in December like we would have liked. So hopefully we can do something in March, but we'll see. And also taking care of some bus stop updates based on our reduction in service through the pandemic. So I've been working with Sonoma County Transit and Petaluma Transit on various bus stop shelters in Petaluma. And I think that coordination has been wrapped up. And now the only thing left to do is we still have 2 shelters to pull out, which we will get to when we can. We have a lot of stuff in Marin County to remove as well. So we'll see what the hierarchy ends up being, but I think we have about 40 trash cans in Sonoma, in Marin County that we need to get to before we start working on the shelters in Petaluma. So sorry in advance for the wait. I think that's about it on my end, but I know Jacob had something to talk about as well.
Thanks, David. I just wanted to introduce quickly a program that we've been doing at Golden Gate called the Bus Operator Pre-Apprenticeship Program. And I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with this, so I just kind of wanted to introduce it and put it out there. But our bus division has, over the last year, received a small grant award to run a pilot bus operator apprenticeship program in partnership with Santa Rosa Junior College. And it's been very successful. The goal, I know, at Petaluma, and then several of you have mentioned operator challenges. I think the goal is to produce a steady stream of operators for the district, and we would also be interested in expanding this, opening it up to all Sonoma operators in the near future. Right now, we're pursuing a couple of larger grants to really expand the program because the pilot has been so successful. And our people from Bus Division are going to attend the next meeting. I think as long as there's time permitting, we'd like to get on the agenda for next month to do kind of a fuller presentation about the apprenticeship program and what all we've done this year and where we're heading. But I just wanted to kind of introduce the program so everybody's aware. And hopefully this could be something that could be useful for everyone as soon as later this year. So
Does this also apply to mechanics, or is this just drivers?
there is a maintenance program. I believe right now it's only been operators, but I think maintenance is the direction that is one of the expansions that they're looking to make.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting, Jacob. I'd be curious to hear more about it as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. I think we could definitely get you on the December agenda for a full presentation on that. I think it'd be great to hear about. I see Stephen Schmitz has his hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. David, I had a question about your upcoming schedule changes in December 12th. Are any revisions being made to the Sonoma County routes, or is it just the numbering system?
So my understanding is might be a couple tweaks on Route 101. I know you sent me an email, we're right in the middle of a board cycle, so I'll try to get to that this afternoon for you, Stephen.
Okay.
And then for Route 72, which will become Route 172, there's one trip in the morning that currently arrives in the financial district at 6:20. Which has low ridership. So we'll be pulling that trip out and having a new trip that arrives into the financial district at 8:50 a.m. instead, which seems to be a time period in the morning that has more demand. So on the Route 72/172, we'll also be reducing the running time. We have a little bit too much schedule time on the Route 172 right now, or 72, which will come to 172. So I'll get that 101 scheduled to you later today.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Santa Rosa City Bus. Go next.
Sure. So we are just down to the wire on our December 12th service changes. It's kind of reaching the go, no go point, and it's all about staffing. So we're trying to squeeze a little bit more frequency increase in December, as well as some adjustments to address some overcrowding on the school routes and whatnot. But we're struggling. We can't replace people fast enough as they retire, so that's the biggest issue at this point. So we're hoping we can do some small things in December, but that's kind of in the next week, we'll be determining whether we just have to stick with our existing schedule a little bit longer until we can get our staffing levels up, which is a bummer, but it is what it is. We're at 85% of service restored though. So, we've got a good baseline out there, but there are a couple of routes we'd love to get a bit more frequency out on. Matt had given me some ridership information. It's a little bit of an apples to oranges. We were about 61% of our pre-pandemic ridership in October, and youth ridership was 26% above the pre-pandemic level in October. But we also had the Kincaid fire that were in October 2019. So that month was a bit suppressed because of, I think, the evacuation and school closures and whatnot. So probably not a great comparison. So those good numbers with a little bit of a caveat. Other than that, I'll see if Sean or Yuri have anything to add from City Bus.
I'll just add that I think paratransit wise, we're 70% of pre-pandemic. Those are September numbers, but they've been consistent in August and July as well. And then Oakmont's probably 90% of pre-pandemic. Oakmont is our single ride that serves Oakmont community, and it stayed pretty more. It had less drop in ridership over the pandemic than the rest of the service.
I'll just mention, since our last meeting, I know we've talked about Proterra being the bus that we're getting the first 4 electric buses. We finally did sign the purchase agreement on the 12th. So like the week after we last met, we actually officially signed a purchase agreement with Proterra for the first 4 buses. And each, so far, it's close to being 100%, but we have HVIP vouchers that were issued for those 4 buses as well. we were unsuccessful on the last round. We were issued vouchers and then denied the vouchers because they have a timeline where you have to like have ordered the bus within a certain time and actually like officially place an order. And they, you know, our council resolution was a little too old for them and we had signed a purchase agreement at the time, so they denied our vouchers. But when the third wave opened, Proterra got them in fast and we were awarded vouchers. So we're further along than we were on the last round. So I'm pretty confident that that money is going to be towards these buses.
Great, glad that they made the deadline. All right, let's hear from Smart next.
We have a new general manager coming in on November 29th, and there will be a 1-month overlap between him and the current general manager, and then he takes over.
Are you able to say who it is?
Yes, it's Eddie Cummins. He's coming from, he's the COO at the Utah Transit Authority.
Great. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, did I miss anyone? No? Okay, let's move on to item number 8. Does anybody have anything to add on transit fares or the Clipper Start program?
It's not Sonoma County specific, but for Golden Gate, we just had a public hearing to set a fare for our new Angel Island ferry. And we'll be going to our board on November 18th to approve the new fares for that service.
Great. All right. The next item is the Emergency Ride Home program. I just wanted to give everyone a quick update on the program. As can be expected, over the pandemic, it's been, hasn't been a big demand for it. And we are wrapping up our first TFCA grant for it and moving into the second one. We have some funding on the table that, from the last grant, and we're going to be coming in under budget regardless, but because of just low usage. But I wanted to just bring it up and see if there's anything that we could do to help you all get the word out, and maybe use some of that funding through this last grant. One idea I had was we had put together some bus signs that, I don't know what you call them, that go on the interior of the buses. And we provided those electronic documents. I don't know if they ever got up there, but if it would be helpful, we could send them to a print shop and get those out to you all. So I wanted to bring up that concept. We had not translated those, so I was wondering if that would be of interest as well, to have those printed in English and Spanish. And I just wanted to open it up for other ideas of ways that we could help you all get the word out about the program.
Yeah, that would be great. We could use some in English and Spanish, can we?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take 45.
45. All right.
Call us 40.
Who was that, Jared?
Yeah.
And I guess we would be 35 to 40 as well.
Okay.
And yeah, we can put them in the buses.
Okay. And I think that I think you all had mentioned that it's 11 by 17 is the correct dimensions for that, on cardstock, laminated.
Right.
The 11 is what's important. It can actually, I mean, I don't know about for the other agencies, but if it has to be longer, it can be longer.
Okay.
Depending on how you want to put Spanish and English on the same card, or if you want to.
Yeah, I'll have to play around with the design a little bit on that and see what works best. But I'll send out some proofs and see what you guys think works.
And then theoretically, we could do a gov delivery, Rachel, or we can work with our marketing team to see what, and we can do Twitter. We could do be good to do it all at once if we're going to do it, because it's usually takes multiple touches for people to realize what they're actually seeing.
Right, and we do have some kind of newsletter and social media copy prepared that I could send out as well. To help.
That would be helpful. Then we don't have to rewrite it or redraft it. It could all be sent out the same thing.
Okay.
And then Yuri, I know we've talked about this and I know it's come up before, but we're still, where we are in the process. But, as we get the unlimited pass, the residential unlimited pass programs, the one we're getting into an agreement with now and others, I think to bake it in as a benefit, here's your free transit pass and you have access to this emergency ride home program would be mutually beneficial for the two programs. So maybe we can talk about how to make that, maybe we can automatically enroll people. I don't know. We can talk to you, Dana, about that. I don't think it's going to be such a high rate of usage at these, smaller housing developments that it would overwhelm the program or anything, but maybe there's a way to just really reduce the barrier to signing up as part of.
Yeah, so
network
people don't
program.
actually have to pre-register.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But that is a great opportunity. But really when there's any new program and, pass sales or effort to get the word out about any kind of transit or commute program, it's a good opportunity to promote the program.
Great, cool.
So it's you pay for your trip and then you submit a reimbursement, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other operators think, but I wonder. Just like quarter sheets to just hand out with the purchase of a month pass, or sometimes people are overwhelmed and they don't have the information, but I wonder if it's not a lot of information needs to be given. It's small, so I don't know. That's an idea.
Yeah, if you have like a brochure or you're handing out with your passes, we could design something that inserts into the brochure. Maybe just a one-sided trifold kind of, or one piece of the trifold. We could fit in instructions on how to use the program.
You can make note of it too on our printed schedules, just that it's an option.
Yeah. So I'll resend the artwork for the logo and you could include the URL and logo and maybe just a brief sentence about it.
Yeah, but it's a reimbursement program, so they have to find their trip, spend the money, and then send it to SCTA. Okay.
Yes.
And can college students can use it, or is it just employees?
Yes, so it's for college or anybody commuting to work or to college.
And you've talked to the JC. The JC's out right now, but I think prior.
Yeah, I have talked with them. I don't know where they are, and I haven't checked in recently on what they're doing for transportation, if they have been getting the word out about it. But
Ridership numbers are pretty darn low right now for the JC too, so you could probably wait to touch on.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful. All right, let's move on to other business comments and announcements. And I see Brant Arthur is here from Sonoma Clean Power, and I know he wanted to share some items with you. So go ahead.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So I'm following up on, I think it was a couple months ago that I checked in, just around how Sonoma Clean Power could support transit electrification. This is following up on the 2019 bus electrification studies that we coordinated with CADMAS, which done some more reading and actually had a chance to talk with Sean and Yuri at City Bus last week. And would love to connect with the rest of you, and so I'll reach out. But I have a few updates and then some questions. following up from my last chicken, I think we were mostly talking about low carbon fuel standard. And so I had the go ahead to look into assisting, like what would that assistance look like for those of you who are looking at collecting low carbon fuel standard credits. So I think on our end, what I'm looking at is that what kind of technical assistance could we provide on data collection as we do collect these. We have some expertise in-house. So I'm pulling those folks together later this month. And then potentially also offering our in-house ability to help sell LCFS credits. I think we looked at a comparison to Marin Transit and maybe how we could help avoid some of the higher fees from third parties to sell those credits. Just looking through the 2019 studies, it looks like the high end of LCFS revenues through 2030 for City Bus were about $3 million, Sonoma County Transit $1 million, and Petaluma Transit $710,000. So as I said, I'm kind of pulling my team together later this month to kind of answer some questions. I know Sean and Yuri had a few. My goal is just to really detail the process, including requirements before the first filing for credits. I'm curious if there are any other questions that you have that you would really like to have answered as, you know, looking at taking delivery of buses and that opportunity. So feel free to say them now, or you can follow up with me at barthur@sonomacleanpower.org. But I'll pause for a second if there are any questions that are burning in your minds about LCFS credits.
Yeah, Brant, is that only towards electric buses or in our case, natural gas?
Right, yeah, so is that something that you're collecting on the differential between diesel and natural gas? Have you looked into that?
No, we haven't. We get proposals occasionally, but we haven't really spent much time with it. So I'd be interested to talk with you about that.
Yeah, you know, we're definitely, you know, excited about the transition to, you know, electric, and I think that the biggest bang for the buck is really going to zero carbon electricity. But would definitely, I'm not as informed of other fuel pathways on LCFS, but would be curious to chat. So let's talk at the very least. I'd love to learn more. All right, well, I'll follow up, and if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot them my way.
Hey, Brant, I just wanted to say thank you to you and Sonoma Clean Power for your ongoing interest in providing technical assistance and bringing your staff resources and knowledge to bear. It's a help, you know, with this transition is such a big lift, as you know, in so many different ways. And there's so many things we have to get up the learning curve in, and just having someone else pitching in to understand the LCFS piece is great. So many thanks for that.
Well, thank you guys for being evergreen customers. I know that you know, that's a real great story, and yeah, we'd love to just kind of, if there's anything we can do to help balance out some, you know, that commitment to 100% local power, local renewable power. We want to help there. So I know another one of the things we talked about was just some of the buses that you're planning to take delivery on next year, and if, you know, there's ways that we could assist with how to tell the story on those buses about, hey, these are running, you know, on 100% local renewable power. So I think there's some excitement about that on our team, and I'll follow up with Sean about that.
Great, thank you.
Just on that note too, I think, you know, as we, from a branding standpoint, as we move through the future of transit, I think this is kind of a first juncture to show that we're, you know, a similar message on all of our vehicles around electrification. And I mean, you know, we could each do our own message, but it would be there might be something unique to our electric sources and for all of our agencies to kind of really kind of spread that message throughout the county and show that kind of unique branding. And the only other point I wanted to mention was that during the study, we talked about, and I had the document, the CPUC document brought up around the joint planning for our fleets. And we talked about whether at one point whether we were going to each submit our own plan or we were going to submit a plan as a joint unit. And I'd have to read my first read through the document. It may Mendocino may not be able to be in that joint reporting, but because it's limited. It says in there that you have to be in the same MPO and you have to be in the same air district. So you guys correct me if I'm wrong if that does or does not include Mendocino, but at least the rest three of us it would include us, and so anyways, that's something to talk about in the future.
So Yuri, I got a little bit confused between the CARB 2040 rollout plans that I think are due in 2023. Is that what you're talking about, or is there a CPUC filing that?
No, it's that plan. Yes.
Okay.
That you're talking about. Yep, that's due in 2023. I think July 2023.
So yeah, I think like the large providers have all turned those in as of last year. And I think there was one small provider plan that's up on CARB's website. When I look through that, I think that there's probably a lot of content from the 2019 bus electrification studies that could be used in that, but that was just my quick glance. So yeah, I would be curious if, it seems like some of that content could be useful, and if there's still any technical need outside of your organizations for those rollout plans. And yeah, if the TTAC or similar forum is going to, that's something you're going to discuss about coordination.
Yeah. So conceptually, I think it's Brant and I talked, Sean, Brant and I talked about, I think we each have to bring it to our own boards once we come up with a plan, and then so it kind of lengthens the timeline in terms of if we do it jointly, we would need to bring it to our boards and that compile it. If we, I think individually we could probably each do it within our existing staff, but there was a concept: do we want to hire someone to kind of help us put that joint plan together if that's the direction we go? That's just more of a question than anything. But I think if we're all going to do this, the joint filing, then I think there's more reason to hire somebody.
And have other transit agencies considered whether they're, I guess, Brian, you're the one left on the call. Have you considered whether you want to hire out for that plan or do it in-house?
We were just going to do it in-house.
Yeah, Jared said he had to jump off, but we could definitely check in with him as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Sorry.
So go ahead, Brant.
I was just going to say, I'd be interested in kind of a gap analysis between some of the planning that documents that you've done so far and that 2040 plan, because I think some of the near-term stuff is definitely out there, and your existing yards and all that level of detail.
And Yuri, correct me, what's the benefit of doing this as one plan is one of the things that it helps us with would be meeting the goals of the ICT rollout. Like if they're saying, X number of buses have to be electric purchases, and that if an agency wasn't capable, they're able to kind of our fleets are one at that point. So now it becomes like if Sonoma County is buying the electric buses, they're kind of taking the load up front, and then the other agencies can kind of help later. Is that what we're kind of looking at as a benefit?
Yeah, it's not completely clear. I mean, I think that's the only benefit I've identified as well, but it's not really mean, it seems like, filing together could complicate things. Just we have to communicate more, and the plans have to be similarly laid out, and, we have to conform to each other's kind of, but they may be more thorough. But at the same time, like by 2028, we're all buying all electrics anyway. So it's kind of short term in terms of, so I don't think it's more of just I think a coordination opportunity. And I think if we want to long-term, coordinate on in other aspects of electrification, it just kind of gives us insight into what the other agencies are doing, and maybe gives us an opportunity to make similar decisions versus just making them on our own, which both have benefits and drawbacks.
So would it be helpful to just have a regular discussion, maybe over the first 6 months, or I guess the plans are due July or June 2023. Is that correct?
Right.
Maybe pick a time frame and we could have regular check-ins at this meeting on the plan as you guys are developing your plans, just to share information on them. Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Sean identified that our plan at this point is do nothing until our buses actually arrive, which is like, summer next year. So then we, we'll have our infrastructure in place, and we'll be able to actually talk from some experience. So that's kind of our general time frame without thinking about it too much. So I don't know what Brian's is, but we can also.
Well, I mean, we're talking about it. We're running electric buses. We have our plan going forward. I'm not really sure you need to have buses on the ground ready to go, but we should talk about this. Just share our plans and how we envision rolling out electric buses, and where our external charging will be. Doesn't really affects Petaluma. In our case, will be down at the Petaluma Transit Mall, but not in Santa Rosa. But I mean, we can just share our thoughts on it.
What's your timeline for submit? Are you already starting to work on your plan, or you just know it's coming up, Brian?
Well, it's not due till 2023, so we have a few other things before that. But,
right. So does summer 22 sound like a good time? Kind of also meet your kind of timeline where you're trying to put some
sure.
teeth to it. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Everything's going to be totally back to normal by summer, right? So that should be fine.
Right. So we'll be looking for something to do.
Yeah, we'll be totally, bored.
Well, I will try to remember to note it somewhere to put it on an agenda then, but if I fail to do that, please bring it up.
Great. Well, thank you all for the time today. Please be in touch if you have any other ideas you want to follow up about how Sonoma Clean Power can support transit electrification. It's a big part of our supporting our mission to turn the tide on the climate crisis, and we're aware that it can't all be single occupancy vehicles. So it's definitely an important conversation to be part of. And I'll put my email in the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Brant.
Brant.
All right. Well, before we close out, I wanted to introduce David Ruperta, who came on a little bit after introductions, in case anybody hasn't met him. David is our new Assistant Director of Projects and Programming at SCTA.
Nice to meet you all. Previously, I was at the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, the commuter train operator between Stockton and San Jose. I was their manager of capital programs, and prior to that, I was at the San Joaquin Council of Governments managing their sales tax program for 6.5 years. So looking forward to working with you all.
Great, welcome.
All right. Anything else before we close out? No. All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.